Welcome to The Pestle, reviewing and breaking down movies to look for insights into the movie-making process. Hosted by Coffee!
Coffee.
Now, let's dim the lights and start the show.
Welcome everybody to The Pestle. Today's show is brought to you by the Camilla Club, the hot new casino making gambling chic again. Join the fun at the Camilla Club. Welcome everyone to The Pestle. I am Wes.
And I am Todd.
And we make things, and then we review films to see what we can learn about making things by analyzing and reviewing how someone else made their thing to the best of our ability based on what we see in the actual movie. That's something I really like, is not knowing all the tips and tricks that the filmmaker's telling us. It's more like, what am I perceiving? What am I getting from it as a viewer? And how can I work back from that? Because there's a lot going on behind the scenes in terms of not just your intention and what you execute at the end of the day, but also working through the process of what doesn't work. We don't see all the things that didn't work. We only see the thing that ended up working, that they gave to us in the final edit. And I think that's just as valuable analyzing as it would be going through that process, because we're going to go through that process ourselves when we go to make things. And so starting with the end in mind is what I always try to do when I'm making something. Like, what am I trying to do at the end of the day? What's the final edit going to look like? What's that experience going to feel like? Cool. Let me go through and review someone else's final result and see what I can pull away from that. Anyway, that's my thoughts on being, a professional in this game, Todd.
Yeah. I mean, all we can do is give our opinion, and that opinion can either be informed or uninformed. And in a world where everyone gives their opinion, I think that the difference here is that we're trying to build on something instead of trying to tear it down. Like, what we do on this podcast is not say this was terrible, period, end of discussion. No, it was, this worked, this didn't work, and why? Why is that? Because, and this has been a learning journey for myself, like I'm sure for you too, but, you started off with more information and more knowledge about this than I did, but just having the ability to say why I like something or why I don't is like super important, because a lot of times you just watch a movie and you think, I liked it or I didn't like it, but you don't really know why. And so I've learned from you so much about, what makes a good performance, or what makes a good edit, or why I felt this way when the camera moved like this or whatever. And it really, I notice so much more now when I watch films. And I love talking about those things because it either cements that I understand it now and I can see that, or if it didn't happen in a way that I'm used to like seeing and enjoying, I can say, you know what, he could have done a slow roll in here instead of static cam or something like that, and it's like, that's what it's all about. We don't, like I said, we don't tear anything down for the sake of doing it. We might tear something apart, but that's because we want to build it up and we want better films to be made. And if somebody could have made better decisions, or different decisions, I should say, then we want to, that's when our opinion is valid, I would say.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think more and more as we've gone on, we get less joy out of like ripping something to shreds. And we've done a couple of episodes where it was just for fun, and we've done less of that as we've matured in our podcasting. But even the stuff that we don't like and we do tear apart, we are doing that as a service of like, why didn't that work for us? And it's always going to be subjective. There's always going to be something that we hated that other people loved, maybe even everyone else loved, and we're the only two bozos who didn't. We do want to understand why that didn't work for us, what we would do differently, or figure out the mechanics behind certain things that feel clunky or off, that isn't landing, or something that everyone isn't liking. We can try to assess, like, where is this going south? And that is informative, not just to us, but hopefully to viewers out there and listeners that are saying, like, this was terrible. And if that's the extent, like you said, knowing why and being able to articulate why, there is a lot of value to that in terms of appreciation. Even if like we were doing an art podcast, like I would want to listen to something like that so that whenever I go and look at something very subjective, like abstract art, I could peel away like, okay, yeah, fine. This is a bunch of random shapes and color splashes, but what sets this one apart from that other one, or the one that I would do, not knowing what I'm doing? There is something. I just can't articulate what. And I bet I could see it though. And I just wouldn't be able to explain. I don't know why my abstract art is such trash and whatever Jackson Pollock's is amazing, or Elisa Gomez is amazing. Like there's so many great pieces of work. There is thought and skill that goes into it, even if you can't appreciate what it is. I think doing this kind of show has been very useful for me, and I've taken a lot of things I've learned, even what we were talking about last week about, for me, why theme is so important when I'm writing. I learned that from this show. Like I learned that from reviewing David Fincher. Like his films, it became within the second or third time reviewing one of his films, I was just like, this is what he's doing. He's really paying attention to theme all the time, and all the scenes he's really dialing in, is this on theme or not? And that was something I took into my writing. So yeah, I am learning just as much, for sure. And that's the fun and the joy of, like, I don't know, discussing something and working out the process of just what you're seeing and engaging with as a viewer, as someone who's just along for the ride. Yeah. With that in mind, man, what are we consuming today?
Today we're covering The Professional from, what is it, 1994?
94, I believe, 94? Yeah.
94. So if you haven't seen the film, please pause the episode and go watch it, because we're going to spoil all the things.
Yeah, we'll do a little bit of looking at cinematography, talk about some of the widescreen aspects and how that informs, I don't know, the approach to the film, as well as talk about some of the story and writing. We'll talk about Léon and the final battle, of course, which is just glorious. And then we'll talk about that and other such stuff and things and stuff, I'm sure.
And a quick synopsis of the film. When her family is murdered by a group of corrupt officers led by the tyrannical Norman Stansfield, a young 12-year-old girl enlists the help of a hitman to get revenge. It's written and directed by Luc Besson, cinematography by Thierry Arbogast, featuring Jean Reno as Leon, Natalie Portman as Mathilda, Gary Oldman as Stansfield, and Danny Aiello as Tony.
I've decided what to do with my life. I want to be a cleaner.
You want to be a cleaner? Here. Take it. It's a goodbye gift. Go clean. But not with me. I work alone. Understand? Alone.
Bonnie and Clyde didn't work alone. Thelma and Louise didn't work alone. And they were the best.
Mathilda, why are you doing this to me? I've been nothing but nice to you. I even saved your life yesterday, right outside the door.
Right. So now you're responsible for it. If you saved my life, you must have saved it for a good reason. If you throw me out now, it's like you never opened your door. Like you let me die right there in front of it. But you did open it. So,
Mathilda.
if you don't help me, I'll die tonight. I can feel it. And I don't want to die tonight.
Mathilda, you're just a little girl, so don't take it badly, but I don't think you could do it. I'm sorry.
Yo, so I'm wondering how long it's been since you've seen this, if you've seen it, and what's the experience watching it now versus what you remembered it being?
Yeah, I remembered it being a lot. I don't remember so much of the cheesiness. Like there's some super cheesy moments, like when the first killing spree he goes on, where he says something like he's serious, and then the big fat guy walks out. He's like, something's coming up, something serious. And I was like, oh, come on, that's just lazy and unbelievable. That whole first killing sequence is not good. It's just not. poorly executed. I don't like the bad guy. He's just like very bad actor. I don't know. But you know, once it gets past that and you get Danny Aiello in and we start learning more about Leon and his relationship with Tony is like super interesting. And we find that out, like they don't really just like tell you, you know, like you kind of like find it out, you know, when Tony gets mad at Leon or whatever and like says, you know, like I brought you up or something, taught you everything, you know. And then so we understand Leon's I guess dedication or love for Tony, right? But also Tony's love for Leon, you know, because when you have like kind of gangster movies, you just assume everybody is going to kill everybody. Like there is no loyalty, right? But I do get that sense of loyalty between Tony and Leon, you know, and I think that that's refreshing in this kind of like story where nobody is, you know, everybody's expendable essentially, right? So because there's that relationship that's like feels good, I also feel good about Leon's relationship with Mathilda and like she's safe with him. Obviously is Jean Reno, who just you can't help but love him. Like he's just, I don't know if it's his eyes or if it's his voice or a combination of the two, but I wish I was related to him. I could like hug him. He's so like kind and lovable in this movie. And so seeing them together is just always wonderful. And I Natalie Portman, you know, like watching her in this role, there's a first role, I think, right? Watching her in this role is like, and in 1994, I think is unbelievable that she was able to do that. But watching them together, every time they were together, I felt really awesome watching this movie, you know? And then towards the end, or I guess at the end where he puts her in the wall, that was heartbreaking. Like her performance there, where she just didn't want to leave him, was like really, really strong, really good. And his performance of begging her to go and like assuring her, I'll be okay, you know, but I can't do this. It's like really cool. I'll be okay, but I can't do what I have to do with you, you know? Wow. So you need to do this. And it made a lot of sense, not just for him to tell her, but him to tell us, you know? To reassure us. I felt like he was reassuring me, I'll be okay. I know what to do, but I have to like leave you behind. And so I felt like, okay, maybe he might get out of this. Cause I honestly didn't remember the ending. It's been that long since I've seen it. So
you're thinking maybe.
Until I see him in the hallway and then like, oh yeah, no, the way the camera is working and cutting in slow motion and he sees the end of the hall. I'm like, no, he's dead. It was just a matter of how he would die. And then also Gary Oldman is freaking fantastic in this movie. I mean, I don't know if it was in the script, but him taking that pill and then cracking his neck, like almost like he's turning into like a monster, was really super cool. And then the scene where he does it, I guess the second time in the bathroom where Mathilda is trying to like attack him or whatever, and then he like sneaks up on her. That whole scene, you know, I know he's not going to kill her, but it's still stressful. They do a really good job of like stressing you out. So, I mean, that's what I'd say. I'd say like the acting is pretty strong for the most part. Danny Aiello, Jean Reno, Natalie Portman, Gary Oldman, they're fantastic in it. I think the writing is weak in some parts. Yeah. I think that it could have been, you know, a little stronger at some points, and maybe that could have been could have made it better. I think the story itself is really interesting and really cool, especially for 1994. Just this idea it was brutal when the family was killed. Like that whole scene was brutal. I like that they didn't show the little boy getting shot, but that we know that it happened, and we see his outline later on. Her performance when she walks past the open door, which, by the way, why would you leave the door if you're the bad guys and you're still at the scene? Why would you leave the door open with a body laying right there for anybody who walked past, and then not say anything to the little girl as you walk? Anyway, but her performance when she walks up to the door and she's begging him to open the door, unbelievable. And I think the timing there of the edit was really good too, because I was in my head, I was thinking, he's taking too long. Open the door. And he just kept like, they just drug it out. So yeah, I think that there were really brilliant moments, and that's one of the reasons why this movie is still to this day, like, I wouldn't say timeless, but like still like really revered, and like a movie that people reference, because there's a lot of really interesting camera work and shots, and there's a lot of great performances, and the story was pretty unique. So, but yeah, it has its faults, but it's still really fun to watch.
Yeah. Same. I haven't watched it probably in a good 10 years. I love this. I saw this. This was one of those key films for me when I was a kid, because I was like 13 or 14 when I saw this. I'd never heard of it. My brother comes home. I'm visiting him, and he comes home. He's got a VHS tape, from work, and he's like, "Yeah, we're gonna watch a movie." I was like, "Okay, The Professional." God, this sounds terrible, but movie. Hey, cool. And then it proceeds to like melt my brain. I'm like, movies can do this? Because I'm so used to like mindless action films growing up on 80s muscle movies, Stallone and Schwarzenegger. I'm sorry, but there's nothing going on in Commando. Like, there really isn't anything fascinating or interesting, or no character work being done. And I've always been such an introverted person that I'm watching what starts out as an action film that then just kind of pieces out on the action for, over an hour. And then you're just left with, these four characters, if you're counting Tony, of course. And it was just like so gripping. And then I'm seeing someone my age on screen. I'm like, oh man, this is crazy. And I was just enthralled. And then, I kept going back to it for several years, and then didn't see it for a while. And I heard there was an uncut version, and I wish I hadn't seen that. It goes a little bit far in some of the Leon Mathilda stuff, because in this edit, it's so much more, satisfying to see them together, like you were saying, because John Reno, so good. He plays this very, like, I like the idea of a really amazing hitman who's not very smart. Like, he's kind of slow. He can't read or write. And he like struggles to make eye contact. He talks really slow. He finishes his thoughts very, very slowly. And if you ask him something, it takes him a while to respond. Like, I love that. And it does so much for this movie, which is, on the one hand, it makes it really easy to imagine like Tony getting over on him. Tony clearly doesn't have his money. Like, that money is so gone, and Leon has no idea. But you love him because he trusts Tony, in this very naive, sweet, imbecile, kind of way. But it also, and I think the reason he's playing it this way, it also leaves a lot of innocence between him and Mathilda, so that as she's making these absurd, comments, like, he's like shying away from it, and he's like, that's crazy. But I also don't feel like I can kick her out. But you also do feel like she can manipulate him. Like that scene that we played, it's full of manipulation, but it's also a little bit of truth. And if you and I are seeing a little bit of truth, he's seeing nothing but like, crap, she's absolutely right. I am responsible for her life now. If I hadn't saved her, then I might as well pull the trigger myself. And what's it all for? And so I really love that kind of inversion of wit that they're playing with these two leads. And Natalie Portman, of course, has gone on to be one of the greatest actors, easily of her generation, but of all generations. It's just astounding, because she went from this to Heat. I'm assuming that was her next role. Now, she didn't have as much to do in Heat, but she's still like really intense and just incredible. And so maybe the writing was always on the wall there. But I just love his performance and how he made it okay for us to watch that relationship dynamic kind of play out, because there's still moments when she needs to learn. I mean, whenever she's training, he's training her, like his first lesson to her was to keep your distance. right? Like, this is the rifle. This is the first thing you learn when you're becoming a cleaner, because it lets you keep your distance from the client. And as you get better, you can get closer. Then you get to a handgun. Then you get to a knife. The knife is the last thing you'll learn because you got to be up close to use it. And we also know, because of that one little moment when she picks up the phone, she's not a good student, right? We established that with her skipping school and saying she's dead. Like, she's still a kid, right? And so there's things that she can offer him, like she can teach him to read and write, but she's clearly still figuring life out because, duh, she's 12. And she ignores her first lesson. When it really matters, when it really comes down to it, she ignores her first lesson and walks into a police station with a bag of weapons. Like, you were supposed to do this remotely, and here you are ignoring everything you've been taught and walking in. And so I love that element of the story because it also reveals just how young she still is in her mind. So she can talk about, I'm in love with you and all that stupid stuff. But it still remains to be seen that she's capable of thinking in 3 dimensions, because she does such stupid, mind-bogglingly dumb things, such as ignoring the very first piece of advice from the greatest hitman in New York. So yeah, there's all those kind of elements I love. But I completely agree. That opening, now on the one hand, what I do love about the opening is we get to start fast. It's an action film, at the end of the day. So let's cut to it, right? Let's open with some action. Let's see this quote unquote professional. And then he just destroys everyone. He appears from the dark, right? All the impossible stuff that a human could never do, he's just doing in the edit. And it's beautiful. It's fun in that way, but it's so corny. You're right. Like, the way some of these moments play out, it's very cheesy. It's not a very good villain. And it's just like, there's a better way to write this. Certainly a better way to execute it. And thankfully, once the rest of the movie plays out, we don't get so cheesy. Like that final sequence with the cops being slaughtered, I thought was great. It played very well for me. And I'm still like gripped the entire way. I'm not rolling my eyes at any point, even though, to talk about some of those moments, you can certainly roll your eyes. But the experience of watching it is very gripping, and very like, oh man, I can't believe that. And it's very satisfying to watch, I think. Was that your feeling too of the that final action sequence?
Yeah, definitely. It was, yes. I don't have much to add. I mean, like, yeah, I do like that it started fast, and I do like that you want to put your hero in an impossible position to get out of, where no one could imagine anyone getting out of that. And then something that seemingly after you see it was obvious. Then you feel like you've kind of learned something. I mean, I always think about, when I'm watching a movie like this, I always think about, like, what would I do? And it's never anything that would get me out of the situation ever. I'm way dumber than that. But it's always interesting to like watch and see what did this writer think that this guy would do. So.
Yeah, I love one little throwaway thing that I finally picked up on was the knocking code that he gives her: 2 knocks, 1 knock, 2 knocks. 212. It's the New York area code. And I was like, oh, that's a fun little, like, it doesn't really mean anything, but it's a fun way to think about your story. And then of course she immediately, uses it against the cops. Like, is there a code? Yeah. Well, are you giving me the correct code? You don't know. All you know is I'm giving you a code. And it worked really nicely, I think. Yeah. I will dive into some of the cinematography because I love the use of widescreen here in a lot of ways. This is a 239 widescreen. And so the close-ups are really interesting. Like, we can get intimate and in their head without feeling like claustrophobic. We're not super crowded. It's not uncomfortable. And I think that's one thing sometimes I struggle with understanding is how to get the close-ups I want without making it feel uncomfortable on like the big screen. And so I think this is the great way to really find a way inside of someone's emotions that's still going to play really nicely on the biggest screens that you want. The one section that I really loved using this was when Stansfield goes to visit Tony. And this is, the detective Gary Oldman's character. He's going in, and Tony knows this isn't good. Like I'm cooked right now. And I love the way this dialogue plays out, because Tony is in close-ups. So we're constantly inside his emotions. Like the closer you are on someone's face, two things. One, as an actor, the less you need to do because of how large every single thing you do is. So if you just look up, that's massive on a close-up, right? If you furrow your brow a little bit, that's huge. We're reading into all of that, and that might be too much. Like furrowing your brow could be like, oh, way over the top. You're performing right now. Like stop doing all this acting. And so it allows the actor to really do nothing, to really just be. And the other thing is that we are really dialed in as a viewer. Like the actor doesn't have to do anything because we are just assuming so much onto them based on the context of the moment. And so if it's a stressful moment where we're seeing a guy who's gone in and who's a cop, who's got like blank check to go around and kill people apparently, right? Because he just slaughtered a family with a shotgun, didn't even think twice. In fact, he's like doing, what is it, Beethoven in his head or Mozart? This guy clearly is unhinged. And so he's
Beethoven. Yeah, you're right. Sorry.
Was it Beethoven? Because he makes a comment about Mozart too.
And then, later.
Yeah. And so he's clearly like ready to roll at any given moment. And now he's interviewing, one of our guys, Tony. And so we're automatically stressed. And therefore you go into a close up with Tony, we're stressed for him. Even if he's not doing anything as an actor, we're just stressed. And now with a close-up, we can't escape anything but him. And we're just thinking what he must be thinking. Nice. Stansfield, the reverse, Stansfield is in mediums. And he's a little bit more relaxed. That allows us a couple of things. I assume, I don't have it open. I assume, though, that we're able to see his backup behind him in that medium. Because he's, whatever, just below the shoulders, just top of the head. But there's still, because we're in wide, there's still a lot of landscape that we can fit in behind him. And if I'm blocking that, I'm certainly blocking the other detectives, DEA agents behind him. So you just get a feeling of he's overwhelmed in manpower. And there's also a comfort that you're giving Stansfield as a character of like, yeah, I'm good. I'm not stressed. Until the very final line that Stansfield makes. Then we move into the close-up. This is his threat when he's talking about this Italian guy, which is really funny because Jean Reno is very clearly French. But what does he say? He says, I am dying to meet him. And that's in close-up, and it's emphasizing the threat and then the intensity behind the words. And that's a really nice way to shape the scene, because whenever you're shaping a scene in the edit, it's set up through the cinematography and understanding how our viewer is going to emotionally engage with the intention of the scene. And so you have to know that as an editor, that a viewer is going to be reading stress on Tony. And as a cinematographer and as a director, I'd be surprised if they got more than one take in a medium on Tony. And maybe that's just like to catch just some general, and then you're like, okay, let's get what we really want in this close-up. And if I really know what I'm doing, I might even only get the close-up, because time is money, and it looks like they're shooting at a very specific time of day. So let's take care to get this as we can get it as quickly. And so you may need a lot of coverage, or you may need only a few shots, because once you know how this is going to progress in the edit, and this is something Soderbergh likes to talk about, is understanding how your cinematography is progressing through a scene, you don't get a bunch of wasteful coverage. Coverage to me can be so wasteful. I'm not a huge fan of it. I think if I'm shooting for someone else, I do coverage. If I'm shooting for me, I only get what I know I'm going to want in the edit. Because if a scene is progressing in a certain way in my head, why do I need, to get a whole wide shot, moving through, like if that scene of Stansfield going into Tony's shop is one sequence, you don't need an edit of capturing that whole thing or a wide shot of that whole sequence. No, you know what? Okay, we're going to get him coming in through the door. We're going to get this medium of Tony excusing the kids. We're going to get, and then you can start to block out like, okay, here's everything that's happening, and here's the shots that I need to progress through the scene that's going to ultimately culminate in this threat. And that, I do want a close up on Stansfield, but that's going to be my last shot. Therefore, I may not even want close up Stansfield delivering all this dialogue. I might save, 100 feet of film by just getting this one shot. And here we go. Okay, now feed him his line, right? You'll talk to Danny Aiello, like give him a little momentum going into that line. Don't just say, okay, now say your line if you can help it. Instead, like feed him his line, maybe a couple lines back to get him a little momentum. And then, hey, here's my final threat. Boom. Okay, cut, and we're out. And you've probably saved, a couple rolls of film along the way, shooting with the intention of the edit in mind. That's a big difference to me.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm just watching right now I'm watching the scene of Stansfield slaughtering everybody. Oh. I think that they set it up so perfectly cinematography wise. They do the long push in on down the hallway, away from the door, right? So we're pushing down the hallway as all the bad guys start filing in one by one, and then we get to the end of the hallway, and Stansfield appears, right?
Yeah,
and we stop. Right. So we're like seeing everyone, come past the camera or whatever. And then we stop on him at the very end. And then you have that famous like down shot of him when he takes the pill. And he does this like weird transformation. And I know I mentioned it earlier, but like it's not it's almost like you don't see it, but you feel it. The transfer, I mean, you see it, I think, but like, it's so cool. And then as he's coming towards the apartment, now we're backing up away, we're going the opposite direction. It's just a really beautiful way of like introducing like this ominous figure, and then pulling him to where he needs to be. It's pretty cool.
Anyway. It is very cool. Like, yeah, I love so much of the cinematography. This is really a director's film. Like, his writing is very subpar, but his directing is fire. Like, he knows where to put the camera and how to create a feeling. And yeah, I'm very curious if this is something Gary Oldman came up with, that whole I'm gonna pop a pill and like transform, or if it was somewhat in the script and he just dialed it to an 11, because my God, it is visceral. Like, you feel stressed just watching him take drugs. Like, what is going on?
Yeah. Like, what is it? Yeah. What is it he's taking? It's like he relaxes, but at the same time, it's after he like freaks out. It's like so weird.
It's super
but it's
weird.
kind of, I guess, the what's in the briefcase kind of thing, where you can only assume what it is.
Yeah.
Maybe he's taking a little piece of Marcellus Wallace's soul every time. Who knows?
That's true. This is 94, same year.
Yep.
So I also really like the way that he's using close-ups throughout the film, especially in that final sequence. Like, there's a shot of Natalie Portman, rising over a chair, and it's in this very tight shot that feels like this is a whole scene, this is a whole setup, when it's just her kind of, after the guns have been blazing, right? He crosses the window and cops shoot up the whole place. She finally comes out of hiding, and she crawls up over the chair, and it just feels like the whole apartment, this tiny apartment or hotel, whatever it is, has been split into all these little sections, and it creates a sense of grandness within this tiny space. And that's a very smart way to make sure the viewer doesn't get tired of a single space. Because we never do. Our eyes never get tired of exploring that small apartment. In fact, we get to the end and it's like, oh, there's a fan there. Okay, cool. And that's going to provide his way out. It's like, I don't know if I saw that fan throughout the rest. I guarantee if they'd been sitting in like a taller frame and shooting wider coverage throughout this whole thing, I would have seen that a million miles away. And it's like, oh, okay. There's a fan. Oh, he's going to the fan. Got it. Like, instead, it was like this little discovery, like, oh, that's cool. What else is here? And it's through these close-ups and splicing up the apartment in these very tight shots. I love it. My last little sequences around the final battle. The widescreen, once she comes back with the groceries, she gets grabbed by the cops. That little shot of them in the little cubbyhole in the hallway is really sweet. It's widescreen. It's filled up nicely with all these masked cops. And the frame is just packed. You feel the overwhelming force of the police throughout this whole final sequence. And which makes him being singular in a frame so much smaller. Like, that's a great way to give a sense of overwhelming power, and also how much of a threat he really is, because he keeps cleaning the frame out, right? He is a cleaner indeed. The other nice thing about the masks, like having all these cops in masks, very smart. It keeps us from emotionally connecting with them or being overwhelmed with characters to remember. Instead, we can really focus on the few characters that we know about, right? Which is our three guys. And eventually we meet a fourth maskless guy. And he gives us a little bit of stress. Him having his mask off suddenly gives him significance. And so we're like, whoa, this guy sees him. Does he know? Does he know? And there's this little knot of like, okay, it felt like Leon was getting out, but now we're not so sure because there's a guy without a mask on and he feels important to the story. And it's very subtle. It's just putting on masks. And of course, when you have masks on, you can recycle your stunt guys, right? You don't have to worry about, oh, we've already used that guy.
Oh, good point. I didn't even think of that.
It's a very sly, simple trick. But it also makes us not feel bad for any of these cops getting killed because they're kind of dehumanized through that whole process. Very just simple, smart way in a lot of ways to use, wardrobe to help tell your story. A lot cheaper too, because you just need fewer people.
Yeah. And we know masked guys are bad guys.
Masked guys are bad guys. Right. Yes. Good point. And then throughout this whole sequence, right, lots of fun angles to dramatize, right, each moment. I love when Leon puts a gun to the cop's head. He peeks around the corner and suddenly there's a barrel on him. We go slightly low angle at Leon to give him a little bit of power. And it feels like his gun arm is also kind of reaching through the frame. And it's just very dramatic. Whereas the cop on that reverse, the reverse angle is eye level, right? Maybe slightly above, I can't remember. But either eye level or just above. And that kind of emphasizes the power dynamic there. And it's also just a really funny moment of like, do you see him? Uh-huh. He's right here. And then they all scoot back. Like, that's great. All the best stuff in this is performance stuff. This is a performer's movie, which is odd for an action film to be like, yeah, this is an actor's movie. Like, what? There's a lot of guns and shooting, right? Well, yeah, I guess it's a gun movie too, but more of an actor's movie.
Agreed. I love the moment too, and it just played, but I had it on my notes anyway to talk about it. It's just such a beautiful moment when she comes back from with the groceries and she walks up to his door and she's crying, and the lighting, the way that they have the lighting it looks so real. So this to me is like a great example of the importance of lighting to put you in a moment. She's really dark. She's really dark because all the light in the hallway is behind her. So there's nothing in front of her. There's just a door in front of her. There's nothing in front of her to light her face. So she shouldn't be bright. She should be hard to see, right? And so she's dark. Everything behind her is bright. So it also makes us feel like she's cornered, and she's, acting her ass off. Unbelievable. In fact, it's so crazy because it's so crazy to know that she's like, what, 12 here?
Yeah, she was cast when she was 12. I think she's 14 technically while we're filming. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I just see Natalie Portman from like V for Vendetta crying. Like she cries the same way for her entire life. It's like, her mouth is her teeth is the exact same. Anyway. And then finally when he opens the door and you just get that flood of light on her face, it's like the heaven opens up. Yeah. And you see this kind of one moment of relief on her face, and we hang there for just a beat or two too long, because he wants the Luke Besson, the director, wants us to know she is now safe. At least in this moment, like, we're going to give you, the viewer, a moment of respite, and we're going to hang on it just for you because of what you just went through with the family, which is freaking brutal. It's brutal by 1994 standards. It's brutal by today's standards, much less 1994. Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say. Like, can you imagine being in a theater in 94 and seeing that? I mean, that's, wow. So it's just a wonderful moment of like lighting, telling a story, around her performance. So.
Dude, absolutely spot on. I had that same exact feeling when I watched it last night when the door opens. I was like, yeah, it does feel like heaven is opening the gates and the light is filling her face. I was literally the same thought. And you're absolutely right, man. What a great point. Like, she is covered in darkness. And I look at that also as she's got a little bit of cover. Like, the guy we're watching is behind her. And so it's doing a number of things. Everything you said, 100%. On a secondary level, though, is our eyes can now be drawn towards the highlight in the frame, which is the guy standing in the hallway.
Yeah.
And so we're aware it's just reinforcing the danger because he's out of focus. He's blurry, but we do know he's there, and we're watching him watch her. And we can see where he's looking. And so just a million things that are amazing happening in that. And of course, it's all supported by Natalie Portman putting on a clinic for a teenager. What the hell? Yeah, if I could only act as good as her at 14.
Today,
yeah, exactly. Yes. Oh my God. The other thing that I love is the very final sequence. The final walk of Leon escaping, so to speak. And I love it. They set it up first when he spots him. Stansfield spots Leon, and he's like, are y'all all fine? I'll do it myself. He clears out a path for Leon to go. And then eventually Leon sneaks down, finds the hallway, starts walking out. And there's something really satisfying about the sequence because we know something Leon doesn't, right? Dramatic irony. We know that Stansfield prepared the way for him, which is not it's horrifying, right? We're waiting for his death. And then of course, Stansfield, just like he did with her in the bathroom, he's doing again with Leon. Except Leon knows something that we don't. He's strapped with bombs and he's anticipating Stansfield. And that's, where we get justice being served and surprise, because you do want, to fill your audience with dread, but you also want to give them a moment of like thankfulness or like you don't want Stansfield to get away with it, right? At the end of the day, we don't want Leon to die, but we also don't want Stansfield to get away. And if Leon has to die, which he does, there's no poetry without it. But if he's going to go, then it's not just him. Justice is served, and I think one of the reasons it feels poetic, a number of reasons, but one of them is that he fulfilled his contract. She paid him money, and he is closing the contract. And so he has to do something to fulfill it. But the other aspect of it feels right and okay is, he saved the plant, and the plant feels like an extension of him. And then she, of course, gives him roots so that he can stop running all the time and find peace. But the other thing I really loved about that final sequence in the hall is, one, the dramatic pause. There's so many nice dramatic pauses in this movie. But the moment whenever he hands the detonator ring to the pin to Stansfield, and he looks at it, he says shit. And I love how tight the edit is from him saying that to the explosion. Like, it feels almost like a J cut. Not quite. It's like just a hair of difference between the period on that sentence and the explosion. Because normally I feel like a lot of people give a nice dramatic, like, crap, boom. Instead, it's just like, crap, boom. And it's just like more immediate. It doesn't give you a chance to anticipate the explosion. It just gives it to you. And that feels also very satisfying. Yeah. I don't know, man. Timeless, I guess. Final thoughts?
Yeah, I think especially for when it was made, I think that film has changed a lot since 1994. But I think that this did a lot of things that was really super interesting and really thoughtful for that time before other films had done it. I mean, the camera movements are really cool. Like there's a shot, and I forget when it. Oh yeah, it was at the end that I noticed. Where the cops are coming to get them, and they roll in these like bulletproof battering ram things into the hallway, and you have a slow dolly roll across a narrow hallway, and it's low. It's like on the ground. The camera's on the ground. That simple thing, right? Like there was a time where that would have been, nobody had ever done something like that. But like, it's super simple, but it's super important because it, like you said earlier about like a low angle making someone feel like a little bit bigger. Well, that's the point of it, is to make these battering ram or like barriers feel big. And so they put the camera basically on the ground and rolled it across a narrow hallway. I think that was like super smart. And I think they tell a really good story cinematography wise. And it's just, I think there's some cheese in the writing, but at the same time, like 90% of it is, I would watch it again right now, and if nothing else for Jean Reno and Natalie Portman, like anytime they're on screen together, I just fall in love. I just think that they're so great together,
That's awesome. Nice. What are you going to recommend this week?
Oh shoot.
Yeah.
I had it and then I hold on. What are you going to recommend?
No more pluribuses to rip from.
That was not my fault.
I didn't think you had been watching Apple. I'm going to recommend. This was tough. There's a lot of films that I really wanted to touch on, like Les Samurai. I think if I were to guess inspiration for this movie, I would have thought Les Samurai, this French film. But The Town is what I'm going with. If you want to see more like bad guys that you're kind of rooting for, The Town is really good. It's written and directed by Ben Affleck, and great performances. Jeremy Renner is just stellar. Man, if you don't get stressed watching that guy in this movie. But I also really love Rebecca Hall. I feel like she never really got all the opportunities she deserved. She's just a phenomenal actor. But yeah, The Town, it's from probably about 10 years ago, give or take. And bottle of fun or something. Yeah. You got something?
Awesome. I do. I remembered what I was going to recommend. I started watching this and I like it so far. I don't know where it's going necessarily, but I'm going to recommend The Beast in Me, this new show on Netflix. Actually is pretty good. It's interesting. It's got Claire Danes in it. She's playing the lead, and opens really strong. And I think that she's really good in it. And it's interesting cinematography wise, and the color in it is really cool too. A little desaturated. I like it. Dude,
nice. Stay tuned for next week. We're going to go way back. I think this is the 80s, maybe the late 80s. We're going to take a look at Tom Cruise in a little movie called Cocktail. And so if you've never went back and watched this piece of 80s nostalgia, then, go check it out. I'm sure it's somewhere, probably like 99 cents on YouTube or something, But you haven't seen Cocktail, and I've been itching to, since we did Forrest Gump, I've been itching to take a look at Cocktail. And so we'll see.
Awesome.
We'll see if it's any good. I don't know.
Is there shrimp in it? Shrimp cocktail? Sorry, shrimp with Bubba Gump. Shrimp.
Yeah, fair.
Shrimp cocktail.
There might be a before and after there. Yeah.
Sorry. Okay.
If you're enjoying the show, don't forget, subscribe, drop us a note, leave us a review. And if there's something you want us to comment on this episode, you can do that at thepestlepodcast.com/theprofessional.
Wow, this is a great quote. The quote of the day is from Confucius. Before you embark on a journey of revenge, dig 2 graves. Man.
It sucks to think about she wanted revenge and it cost him his life. But that's the truth. Like, if you are only thinking about hurting someone else because they hurt you, you're hurting yourself in some way or another. And it's rarely as satisfying as you want it to be. Revenge, people talk about it and it's like, yeah, and I really got him back. We don't really know how long that sweet taste lasted. But the odds are you really just hurt yourself. Don't even get me on this like more cosmic, we're all connected kind of kick, because then you really are only hurting yourself in a whole other way. But yeah, I don't know. I don't generally like quoting Confucius. It feels very like a very Westerner thing to do.
Yeah.
But if you're going to use this quote, you don't really have another choice. And I just felt like looking at The Professional from that lens of trying to take someone down. It sucks for Leon. Like, and you wanted so much more for him than what he was really getting. Like, it felt like there was a path to another life for him that he never got. Maybe because he met Tony, or maybe Tony protected him. I don't know, but there's a whole other story there within Leon that it feels very pitiful, and I don't say that lightly.
Yeah, agreed. And I think it's super smart, the dig 2 graves part. You just have to be. It doesn't necessarily say it's a bad thing. It just says you better be prepared to die yourself, either figuratively or or literally or figuratively, right? Like, you're going to kill yourself to do that, or you really will need to kill yourself to do that. If you're okay with that, have fun, maybe.
Yeah.
Anyway,
great point.
Great quote, man.
Thanks.
Yeah. Awesome. I had a great time. I needed to watch this movie again. It'd been way too long, obviously, and really love talking to you about it, man. I feel like I learn something every time we do one of these episodes. So
Same.
Great insight there. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it too. Make sure you subscribe and review us wherever you get your podcasts. It helps a lot. Every bit helps. And if there's a film that you'd like to see us talk about or pick apart, give our 2 cents, let us know. Maybe we'll cover it. Until next time, I'm Todd.
I'm Wes.
Go watch some movies. Oh yeah, the glasses. The glasses are too small for his face and perfect.
No women, no children.